Hello, everybody. This is Dr. David Jockers, and today we're talking about how to heal hypothyroidism naturally. We know that up to 30% of the global population has an issue with their thyroid. And so we're going to go through in detail exactly what factors may be causing problems with your thyroid, what kind of symptoms you might have if you do have a thyroid problem. We're also going to go over the best foods, the best supplements, ways to test your thyroid. Really, this presentation is all about the thyroid. And since 30% of our population is dealing with a thyroid problem, it's a good chance either yourself or a family member has this problem. So you'll definitely want to pay attention to the presentation today. And I guarantee by the end, you'll be thankful that you did. So let's jump into this. If you don't know me, my name is Dr. David Jockers. I am a doctor of natural medicine, and I speak all around the world on topics such as brain health, autoimmune disease, thyroid function. I mean, really a number of different topics. And really, I specialize in helping people improve their energy and their digestion. Those are things that plagued me growing up: low energy and chronic digestive problems, irritable bowel. And so I really specialize not only in helping myself get well, but really helping other people. And we know the thyroid plays a big role when it comes to energy. So it's a really, really big factor. So what are signs that you have an underactive thyroid? Well, one big one is energy. We talked about that. So just energy, fatigue, malaise, where you just don't have drive. Depression oftentimes can be an issue with the thyroid because the thyroid is very key for energy production in the brain. Low energy production in the brain can lead to depression. Also, unexplained weight gain. So if you are gaining weight without really any major changes in your diet or your exercise, your activity levels, it could be a thyroid problem. If you have weight loss resistance, where you've tried dieting, you've tried exercise, yet you're still not losing the weight, most likely it's an issue with your thyroid. Muscle soreness and pain. So if you have chronic pain in your body, oftentimes that can be an issue with thyroid. High cholesterol levels. So typically when I look at lab work and I see somebody that has very high LDL, the quote unquote bad cholesterol, usually I'm thinking they either have blood sugar imbalances where they have insulin resistance, and high insulin can cause high cholesterol, or it's a thyroid problem. So it's not really a cholesterol problem. Cholesterol is downstream. It's typically a blood sugar problem or a thyroid problem or a combination of the two. Dry and flaky skin. This also goes with brittle hair, as well as kind of weak fingernails can be a thyroid problem as well. So look out for that. Women with menstrual problems or fertility problems. So when women are telling me, we've been trying for years with their significant other, and they're not able to get pregnant, I'm thinking thyroid, got to test the thyroid. So these are all major areas of the body that are affected by thyroid. And really, a thyroid plays a role within every cell of the body. And so here's really what happens in our society. We have these hypothyroidism types, okay? And so you can see functional on one side, where it's called AKA euthyroid, which means good thyroid, sick syndrome. And that means that your testing is done by the mainstream physicians, and it shows that the thyroid your thyroid seems to be okay, but ultimately a thyroid's not making enough hormones, or your body's just not using thyroid hormones properly. So the testing comes out and it's like, okay, everything's normal, but for some reason you're still having these hypothyroidism symptoms. And so that's kind of the functional hypothyroidism type, and we'll talk more about why that is. Okay, and typically in the medical model, you're either given a medication, okay, or told it's just in your head that you don't actually have a problem here. Or the other issue would be autoimmune, which is Hashimoto's. And it's expected that 80% of thyroid problems, hypothyroidism, is an autoimmune. And that's where your thyroid is being damaged and other parts of your body may be experiencing damage also. For example, we saw that chronic pain was an issue with hypothyroidism. Well, why is that? Because oftentimes we can create antibodies to our connective tissue or our muscle tissue. And typically when there's antibodies to one tissue, like the thyroid, then there'll be antibodies to other tissues, like the connective tissue, muscle tissue, different issues like that. Also to the brain. That's why a lot of times people have poor balance. People have thyroid problems. poor concentration, they feel dizzy often, because many times they're creating antibodies and chronic inflammation in their cerebellum and other major areas of the brain. So look out for that. And typically when it's an autoimmune, again, they're just either given a thyroid medication, or in some cases, the thyroid is removed if there's a goiter or nodules, or if it is Graves' disease, it will radioactively destroy it or surgically remove it. But in either case, within the medical model, as you can see, in either case, with the medical model, they never really get to the root cause and correct the root cause. So let's look at how the thyroid functions in general. And there's a part of our brain called our hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus is like the antenna. So it basically is reading the bloodstream and saying, okay, do I need more metabolic activity? Is a thyroid hormone sufficient or inefficient for the demands of my environment? And if it feels like it's inefficient, then it will release this hormone, this neurohormone called TRH, thyroid releasing hormone, which will go and interact with the pituitary gland. And the pituitary gland will then send a signal called TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, to the thyroid gland, which tells the thyroid gland to produce thyroid hormone. Now, when the thyroid produces something, it's going to produce three major things. Calcitonin, which has to do with calcium regulation. That's not really what we're going to talk about today. But it will produce mostly T4, produces 93% of its production of thyroid hormone is in the form of T4, which is basically an inactive form of thyroid hormone. So it's not active in the cells. T3 is what's active. The thyroid gland produces 7% active T3. It also produces T1 and T2, but scientists are not sure exactly what T1 and T2 do yet. So we don't really show that in the graph. Okay, so here's how it works again. Hypothalamus signals the pituitary gland with TRH. Pituitary gland signals the thyroid with TSH, which then produces T4 and T3 through an enzyme called thyroid peroxidase, which is important to understand because there's an antibody that we'll screen for on testing. It's called the TPO antibody. It's the thyroid peroxidase antibody. And if you have antibodies to that enzyme, again, that enzyme's key for producing T4 and T3, then you're not going to be able to produce T4 and T3 in the way that you want to. And it's also going to cause destruction to the thyroid gland, which can lead to goiters and nodules, as well as thyroid cancer. Okay, so remember, thyroid gland produces 93% T4, 7% T3. That 7% that goes into T3 can be used immediately by cells for energy, but it's just not enough. We need a lot more than that of the T3. So that T4 circulates around and goes to the liver. The liver's job is to help convert T4 into T3, all right? It will also convert 20%, so 60% of the T4 is converted into active T3 that the cells can use. 20% will be converted into reverse T3, which is an inactive form of T3. So now again, that's 80% of the overall T3 production there. The other 20%, so T4 will get into the gut, or actually, I'm sorry, 20% the liver will also convert into T3 sulfate and T3 acetic acid. These are inactive forms, but they get into the gut, and the gut converts them into active T3. So the gut microbiome converts the T3 sulfate and a T3 acetate into active T3 for the body to use. So we need a healthy gut. Basically, what this tells us is we need good signaling from the brain to the thyroid. We need to make sure that the thyroid peroxidase enzyme is not being destroyed by antibodies, our body's own immune system. We need to make sure the liver is healthy so it's able to do the proper conversion process. And we need to make sure the gut is healthy so it can convert the T3 sulfate and T3 acetate into active T3. So that's key. Now, here are the causes of hypothyroidism. These are things that get in the way. Autoimmunity, we just talked about that. 80% of hypothyroidism is thought to be autoimmune in nature, where the body's own immune system starts to attack the thyroid, particularly the thyroid peroxidase antibody is produced, or that enzyme is damaged. Also, thyroglobulin, which is a backbone of the thyroid hormone, it can be damaged as well by antibodies. So we'll screen for TG, thyroglobulin antibodies, as well as TPO, the thyroid peroxidase antibodies. So autoimmune, that's one big one. Sluggish liver and estrogen dominance. We just talked about how the liver plays a role in converting inactive T4 into active T3 that the cells can use. So we want to make sure that the thyroid hormone expression in the cells is working well. So when sluggish liver and estrogen dominance, it's not really a thyroid problem, it's really a liver problem or a toxic problem in the body, and that's causing poor conversion of T4 to T3. Leaky gut syndrome. So if the gut is damaged, then of course we're not going to get that conversion, that 20% conversion that we wanted. Also on top of that, it's going to cause more stress in the body. It leads to adrenal fatigue. It also can cause a sluggish liver because the liver's got to do a lot more detoxifying when we have leaky gut. So all that plays a role in all of those things. And then low stomach acid. And the big reason for low stomach acid is we won't absorb key nutrients like B12, zinc, iron effectively. And those are all very important for thyroid production, thyroid hormone production, as well as preventing against autoimmunity, as well as converting T4 to T3. And when we have low stomach acid, it puts more stress on the liver, puts more stress on the overall body. The gut can lead to leaky gut, which can cause adrenal fatigue, which can lead to autoimmune. So all of these things are really, they go hand in hand. In fact, most people have 4 out of 5, if not all 5, when they have hypothyroidism. Typically, when somebody has hypothyroidism, we need to address all 5 of these factors. So that's very important to remember. Now let's look at this again. Adrenal fatigue. So if somebody has adrenal fatigue, let's say they just have a major emotional stress or a major issue in their life, and they're producing a very high amount of adrenaline and cortisol for a long period of time, that right there will suppress the thyroid function. Why? Because in a sense, these things, the adrenaline and thyroid, both act like gas pedals. Your body doesn't want to run out of gas, so it shuts down the thyroid. It's kind of like the body just senses we have chronic stress. The stress is going on for too long. We need to shut down so we can heal and repair. And so now we get decreased thyroid function. Well, when the thyroid goes down, it slows down the liver. So we talked about a sluggish liver will cause problems with thyroid hormone expression. Well, also low thyroid hormone production will cause a problem with liver detoxification. When the liver slows, gut function declines. Liver plays a key role with allowing the gut to move effectively, right? For example, we'll become more constipated when the liver is sluggish. So it's very, very important for our gut to get toxins out. We need to have healthy liver. And of course, you know, when that happens, now when the gut happens, now we're going to have more stress hormone being produced because we're going to have more toxic metabolites from over-fermentation. So bacteria, we're going to have bacterial and microorganism overgrowth in our gut because we're not moving our bowels effectively. So now that releases more toxic chemicals like lipopolysaccharides and other major toxins like gliotoxin that is produced by candida. And now those things are going to signal the alarm in our body, which is the adrenals. So you can see this is a vicious cycle where one thing leads to the next, and it just causes more and more problems. So it's the hypothyroidism cycle. And you can see low thyroid hormone production can be related to all of these things: chronic inflammation in the body, leaky gut, and overall immune dysregulation, where the immune system is not only causing inflammation, but also can oftentimes be causing antibodies against the thyroid, particularly the enzymes, thyroid peroxidase, or the backbone of thyroid hormone called thyroglobulin. So leaky gut, how does leaky gut form? Well, you can see these little tight junctions in between the intestinal cells. A number of things can cause a loosening or a breaking of these tight junctions. It can be dietary proteins. So if we're not for example, things like gluten, which we'll talk more about, which can cause stress and signal something called zonulin, which is the gatekeeper in the gut, and it opens up these tight junctions. It can also be from low stomach acid, which we talked about before. So when the body's under stress, we're not feeding the body properly, we're not going to be able to produce enough stomach acid and enzymes, we're going to have improper digestion, which is going to cause stress in the gut. Antibiotics, so antibiotics are going to damage our natural microbiome, and cause an overgrowth of microorganisms that cause more inflammation in the gut, and that can cause leaky gut. Other infections, so antibiotics can lead to other infections, H. pylori, C. difficile overgrowth, yeast infections, parasites. These things can all be related to leaky gut. Blood sugar issues, so when we have blood sugar imbalances, it's going to cause a loosening of these tight junctions and an increase in inflammation. Antibiotics from our diet. So we might not be taking any prescription antibiotics, but if we're eating commercial raised meat, we're going to get antibiotics from our diet, which are also going to cause an unfavorable growth of microorganisms. Pregnancy itself causes a loosening of really all the tissues, including the tissues in the gut. So it can be an issue there. A lot of times people will have a pregnancy, and then after that, their health will never be the same. So it doesn't have to be that way, but it oftentimes can be. Menopause, when a woman goes through menopause, the hormone changes that take place can often lead to a loosening of these tight junctions. Environmental toxins, we're talking about heavy metals, things like BPA, chlorine in our water. These things can all cause inflammation in the gut. Food allergies or sensitivities can cause more inflammation in the gut, and then chronic stress is going to cause a lowered ability to heal the gut membrane. So all of these things can cause leaky gut. When the protein molecules get into the bloodstream, our body will create circulating immune complexes that damage, or basically that can create autoimmunity. And again, then we can get autoimmune or antibody development to all different types of tissues of our body, including thyroid peroxidase, that enzyme, as well as thyroglobulin, and many other factors, many other major issues in our body. And usually when we create autoimmunity to one tissue, we typically create autoimmunity to multiple tissues. And so if we have Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune disease affecting the thyroid, causing low thyroid hormone production, or low thyroid, hypothyroidism, then typically we're going to have autoimmunity to other tissues as well, maybe the joints and causing pain, maybe the brain, like we were talking about before, and causing dizziness, loss of balance, depression, or possibly poor memory. So these are all things to look out for. One major protein that is strongly linked with hypothyroidism is gluten. And you can see gluten will damage the gut, opening up the leaky gut, and then it's also linked with issues with the thyroid peroxidase antibodies, as well as thyroglobulin. It can also lead to malabsorption of nutrients because it will lower, somebody that's sensitive to gluten will lower stomach acid production. So we won't be able to absorb nutrients the way that we want, which can cause protein deficiencies, magnesium deficiencies because we have chronic stress in our body. We'll deplete key nutrients like vitamin A, vitamin D, iodine. So definitely want to avoid gluten. So what are some ways that we can test the thyroid? Well, one way we can do it at home is called the basal temperature test. And this is where you take basically a thermometer, either a mercury thermometer or a Galveston thermometer, okay, which is mercury free. And I do have an article on this on drjockers.com, explains exactly how to do this test. But basically you'll take your morning basal temperature test without moving in the morning when you wake up, and you will get a reading. Normally, it should be between 97.8 and 98.2. It's always going to be a little bit lower than our ideal body temperature, which is 98.6 when we check the underarm or the axillary region. It's always going to be a little bit lower. But what we know is that anything lower than 97.4 degrees Fahrenheit or 36.5 degrees Celsius implies that at complete rest, your cells are just not able to produce adequate energy to meet the demands of your body, which is typically related to hypothyroidism. Sometimes it can be an adrenal fatigue issue or a combination of the both. So that's what you're looking for there. And that would be kind of a pre-screening you could do at your house. Typically, you want to do it 3 to 4 days in a row and then check the median or the average of all of those to kind of get your number. So that's the case. And if you're a menstruating female, you'll want to do it on the second day of menstruation is when you'll want to start this. Day 2 through day 5 of menstruation will give you the most accurate readings. If you're a male or a non-menstruating female, then you can do it really at any time during the month. Okay, so once that's done, okay, then really more the gold standard test, of course, is lab work, blood test. So this is a blood test we use called our total thyroid test. So it looks at a number of different things. Okay, but you can see here we're looking at, if you look at the top here, you'll see thyroid peroxidase antibodies, which is what I was talking about. Free, so the free portion of this is triiodothyronine, which is T3. Thyroxine binding globulin. Okay, so again, very important, testing that TBG there. And then you will also see, well, we also test for TG antibodies, thyroglobulin antibodies. Okay, TSH, which is again thyroid signaling the pituitary gland signaling the thyroid. T4, just a number of tests here. We'll also look at iron. We look at a complete blood count, comprehensive metabolic panel in this. I'm not even showing you all the numbers that we look at in this test. And you can find this on my website, drjockers.com, under our lab testing. It's called Total Thyroid Test. We look at C-reactive protein, which is a measure of inflammation, vitamin D levels, which are really key for healthy thyroid and keeping autoimmunity under control. And this person has good vitamin D. We want to see it between 60 and 100. They're at 65, which is great. Homocysteine, this person's at 11.5, which is high. Typically with homocysteine, we want to see that between 5 and 8, maybe up to 9. 11.5 is very high. So they're having methylation issues, maybe a B12 deficiency or folate, B6, B2 magnesium, or zinc play a role with homocysteine. So anyways, we're looking at that. Serum ferritin, which is like circulating active iron. That's very high. So it's a sign of oxidative stress in their body. This person has oxidative stress. Also, their hemoglobin A1C is higher than I like to see it at 5.6. That is a 3-month measure of glycation of their red blood cells, okay, which tells me about their blood sugar balance. So these are a couple factors I would immediately want to address with this individual. Okay, and in general, their iron binding capacity is low, which means that they have high circulating iron in their body, which is a sign of oxidative stress. So we may want to give blood. We may want to use things like green tea extract or curcumin or quercetin to lower the iron levels in the body. And maybe make some diet changes like taking out red meat to lower iron levels, or just not taking vitamin C if they're doing that with red meat. And there's a number of things we can look at off of this. You can also see reverse T3, which is normal there. If that's high, then I'm thinking high stress hormone production. So this test is awesome because it really gives me a lot of information on what's going on in the body. So again, total thyroid test on our website. And if you order that test on our website, we do a free report for you. So my functional nutrition team will do a free report. They'll get on the phone with you and explain the findings of those tests as well. So total thyroid test on drjockers.com looks at all of that. So factors that affect thyroid function, a lot of factors here. You can see key nutrients, iron, iodine, which is what we need to produce thyroid hormone, tyrosine, which is part of the backbone producing thyroglobulin and thyroid hormone, zinc, selenium, vitamin E is key. Vitamin A also should be in there. Vitamin D, vitamin B2, B3, B6, C, and D, right? All very important factors that increase conversion of T4 to RT3. So the inactive T3, if we're under a lot of stress, we have major trauma. If we are on a low calorie, like a low calorie diet, Weight Watchers or something like that, oftentimes we'll hit plateaus because we are creating too much RT3, reverse T3 on those sorts of diets. So I don't recommend those. Chronic inflammation, toxins, infections, liver, kidney dysfunction. Some medications can cause this problem. Let's see, factors that inhibit proper production of thyroid hormone. Fluoride, okay, chlorine as well. Also bromide, which is what we find in a lot of baking goods, a lot of conventional baking products. We find these halogens like bromide in there. So that's a big factor. Autoimmune disease. So a couple key nutrients, selenium and zinc. So typically when I see somebody with a thyroid problem, I'm always looking at their selenium and zinc levels and trying to really get those balanced. Also vitamin A is really key. And we look at that on our total thyroid. We look at serum vitamin A levels. Getting good exercise, right? So getting the right amount of exercise, not too much, but not too little, is also very, very key for thyroid. Zinc can be a life changer, getting the right amount of zinc in as well. So heal your thyroid naturally We want to look at blood sugar balance. We want to get the blood sugar under control with the right diet. We want the gut to function well. We want to make sure we've got a lot of antioxidants in the diet and possibly with supplements. We want to support the mitochondria, which are what produce energy in the body. Mitochondria depend on good thyroid hormone stimulation, and thyroid hormone production and conversion and expression in the body depends on mitochondria. So they work together. Healthy liver. So again, we talked about good liver function, whole body detoxification. We need to be getting toxins out of our body every day. Cell membrane fluidity, which is really key. So a lot of fats play a role in that, healthy fats, as well as things like omega-3s, and good immune coordination, so we don't have autoimmunity. So some of the best foods for hypothyroidism, and I did a whole presentation on this topic right here, so you can look that up, the whole video. But sea vegetables, bone broth, so like kelp, seaweed, different things like that, dulse, nori, those types of things, really, really good. Loaded with iodine and trace minerals, healthy for the thyroid. Bone broth, amazing for the thyroid. Tons of really good nutrients in there for the gut, like glycine, which is key for liver, as well as the gut, proline, glutamine, glucosamine, chondroitin, gelatin, all really good for the gut and the joints and the thyroid. Grass-fed butter, which is rich in vitamin A, as well as CLA, conjugate linoleic acid, butyric acid, which is really key for gut healing. So many key nutrients in grass-fed butter. If somebody has a dairy sensitivity, then we'll move to ghee, which is a clarified butter. Fermented foods, which really help support the gut and liver detox. Avocados, which are loaded with fat-soluble nutrients and things like vitamin E that we were talking about. Healthy fats, which reduce inflammation in the body. Pasture-raised animal products, so grass-fed beef and pasture-raised eggs. Things like that. Wild-caught fish is another key one. Wild-caught sockeye salmon, one of the best foods for thyroid. Making sure your water and you're hydrating well, but you're drinking clean filtered water that has chlorine and fluoride filtered out, as well as the disinfectant byproducts and the heavy metals. So I recommend a really good water filter. Getting a lot of coconut fats in, olives and olive oil, apple cider vinegar, which is really key for stomach acid production. Drinking some apple cider vinegar or using lemons and limes in water can help with stomach acid production. Those things can also help with pre-digesting meat and vegetables before you eat them. So I recommend putting like fresh squeezed lemon on meat and vegetables, as well as apple cider vinegar. Cruciferous veggies, which oftentimes get a bad rap. We're told that cruciferous vegetables are bad for the thyroid, but really, because they have goitrogens, but really the goitrogen content is so low that I don't really see that. In fact, most people with thyroid problems don't really have a major iodine deficiency to where they need to worry about goitrogens, which basically bind to iodine and reduce iodine content. Now, I do recommend steamed cruciferous vegetables, steamed or sauteed or roasted, ideally steamed, because the outer fiber on broccoli or cabbage or something like that can be real hard in the digestive tract. So when you steam it, it loosens that up, breaks down that hard outer fiber, makes it more palatable and easier for the body to digest. Then you can put your grass-fed butter or ghee on it, your herbs, your lemon, lime, apple cider vinegar, things like that, and it makes just a wonderful meal. I know I love to do a mashed potatoes alternative out of cauliflower, which is awesome. I love buttered broccoli, so steamed broccoli with grass-fed butter or ghee on it. Lots of herbs, basil, oregano, thyme. I love to smell the meal from the next room, because smelling the meal, when you smell those aromatic herbs, that's going to help stimulate stomach acid production, bile production from the liver and gallbladder, and pancreatic enzyme production for good digestion, which will take stress off the gut. So steamed cruciferous vegetables or fermented, like when we're looking at sauerkraut or kimchi, that's fermented cabbage. So we can ferment our veggies, our cruciferous veggies as well. So all really, really good foods for thyroid function. Bone broth. So I was talking about bone broth, and you can certainly make your own bone broth. In fact, I have some homemade bone broth in my refrigerator right now that I'm going to have later today. But another great way to get the benefits of bone broth is using bone broth protein powder through Ancient Nutrition. We sell this right on our website, drjockers.com. And you can get it in a bunch of different flavors: pure, vanilla, chocolate, which is unbelievable, tastes unbelievably good, the chocolate flavor. There's also a turmeric as well. So you combine the benefits of turmeric with bone broth protein. There's a greens. So they have oat grass and alfalfa grass with bone broth protein for detoxification. There's a coffee flavored. I mean, there's just a bunch of different flavors that you could look at on drjockers.com. So bone broth protein can be a great way to really get collagen protein into your system to help your skin, your thyroid, your gut, all your major tissues of your body. So I love bone broth protein. We also want to boost glutathione, and we talked about liver detoxification, also autoimmunity. You know, if we have adequate glutathione, we won't develop autoimmune condition, right? Like Hashimoto's. So if somebody has autoimmunity, they're low in glutathione, their body is overusing glutathione, probably because they're toxic or because they are doing things that are over stressful for their body. So how do we boost glutathione? Well, consuming fermented foods is a great way. Bone broth protein powder can be awesome ways to boost glutathione, but you know, definitely supplements can be helpful for somebody with thyroid condition. So I recommend supplements like acetylated glutathione, liposomal glutathione, or precursors like N-acetylcysteine, or a major water and fat soluble antioxidant that boosts glutathione called alpha lipoic acid. And what glutathione does, it really helps protect against free radical stress, oxidative stress, which damages cells. So it really protects all the cells of our body, our DNA, and helps to tame the immune system. In a sense, giving the immune system better coordination so it's not overfiring and causing autoimmune conditions and chronic inflammation. So we do want glutathione. Selenium is also really key. So Brazil nuts are our best food source of selenium. I typically, when somebody has a thyroid condition though, will supplement with a form of selenium called selenomethionine. And I typically will supplement with selenium when I either see low selenium, okay, we do a micronutrient test to look at selenium levels. If I see low selenium on the micronutrient test, and you can find that micronutrient test on my website, drjockers.com, under lab testing, you'll see the red blood cell micronutrient test. We're actually looking at selenium levels within the red blood cells. If I see it low, I'll usually supplement. I won't necessarily count on Brazil nuts because Brazil nuts, we don't really know how much they contain. They can contain anywhere from 50 micrograms up to 550 micrograms in a small handful. So we're not fully sure. Plus, a lot of times people with autoimmune disease or leaky gut actually have sensitivities to nuts. You know, my autoimmune program actually take people off of nuts to begin with. But you can see selenium has a number of different benefits. So people with cancer, thyroid problems definitely respond well to selenium supplementation. And I'll use this supplement right here called Liver Protect, especially when I see liver enzymes high, as well as poor T4 to T3 conversion and low selenium. This has 100 micrograms of selenomethionine, which is the best one for the liver. In fact, 200 micrograms of selenomethionine daily was shown to significantly reduce antibody production, thyroid antibody production, after taking it for 6 months. Sometimes we'll go up to 400 micrograms, okay? But a good starting place is 200 micrograms. Also getting that milk thistle, alpha lipoic acid, and acetylcysteine in there will help with liver detoxification, phase 1 and 2 liver detoxification, as well as boosting up glutathione, helping remove toxins from the body. So it's a great supplement for that, Liver Protect. If I need to boost up T4, then I use Thyroid Strong, which has iodine in it. It has sea vegetables in it. It also has the selenomethionine. It also has glandulars. So a lot of people will take medications like Armour Thyroid, which is basically a bovine, it's a porcine, it's a pig form of thyroid, and it is a glandular desiccated thyroid, okay? And so what I personally will do is I will do a bovine form first and see how they respond to this with the Thyroid Strong. And that's how I go about it with the iodine, selenium, as well as using a grass-fed beef form of thyroid hormone. The key with the glandulars is you're getting T1, T2, T3, and T4, okay, in really a way that our body would naturally produce it. So most people respond really, really well to that unless they have a sensitivity already, food sensitivity to grass-fed beef, then they may not respond well. But this is a great supplement as well, Thyroid Strong. Okay, and I will put people that have thyroid conditions on my autoimmune elimination program. Why? Because we know 80% of thyroid hypothyroidism is an autoimmune condition. And even when it's not, I see these people respond really, really well to a food elimination diet. And that's really what the autoimmune elimination program is about. It's all about eliminating foods, tightening up the food plan, taking things like gluten, corn, soy, dairy other than ghee, nightshade vegetables, nuts, eggs, things like that out, and then slowly reintroducing. A lot of times people go on an elimination diet, but they don't know how to reintroduce. And so we go through exactly on this program how to reintroduce foods. There's a 6-week journal that you go through. We also have special guides and videos on how to heal your adrenals, on stomach acid support, on gallbladder and bile and liver function, which are all key for thyroid hormone expression in the cells. So the autoimmune elimination program is really my go-to when it comes to thyroid conditions, and it works absolutely amazing. So if you want to check that out, just go to my website under programs and you'll see the autoimmune elimination program, and it will really give you a full rundown of everything that's included in that program. But basically it's recipes, videos, a meal plan. We have a manual, we have a stomach acid guide, gallbladder guide, advanced cleansing and healing strategies. We have a 6-week journal that you follow. We have, again, the meal plan. We have a manual for it that walks you through how this works, how this whole program works, and gives you the science and the why behind it. We have a number of videos showing you recipes, showing you all the strategies to take to heal your body and to heal your thyroid naturally. Okay, so again, recipe book, meal plan, all this stuff in our autoimmune elimination program. This is basically equivalent to hiring me to coach you for probably 30 hours. And if you were to hire me for 30 hours of coaching, your cost would be over $10,000. But because I've done this in a format where you're watching it at your own pace, at your own, in a sense, at your own time and your own schedule, with e-guides that I created, videos, everything that I would want to teach you in order to heal yourself naturally here. And I'm able to do it to where people can get it and use it in groups. I'm able to really cut down the price. And so we've gotten it under $100 now. It's $97. I don't know a program out there on the market that's more extensive and better and really ultimately gives you everything to heal your thyroid naturally for less than $100. Most of the other programs out there, they're being priced for anywhere from $297, okay, which is the lowest I've seen, to $497, so $300 to $500 for those online programs. You know what? I wanted to make this as accessible as possible to as many people as possible. So we've been able to get the cost to $97. So how do you get that? You just go to drjockers.com. You look under the programs tab and you will find, we have 6 different online programs. You'll find the autoimmune elimination program, which is my ideal program for people with hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism, Graves' disease. So check that out. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this presentation and a lot of the action steps to take now to help heal your thyroid and heal naturally. God bless you guys, and we will see you on a future presentation. Bye-bye.